This week's Parsha of Chukat deals with the ultimate chok that the Torah prescribes for us. Rashi says that, quoting the Medrash, that the Umas Ha'olam and the Satan all make fun of this chok of Porah Aduma. It's one and the same time. It's Matayr Tmeim and it's Matami Tahorim. It doesn't seem to make any rational sense at all. And therefore, the Lashon of the Medrash is Chok Chokakti, that's the chok, that's it. So the Ramban raises here a question that this is not the only chok in the Torah, and that if you think about it analytically and deeply, the whole Torah is a chok. Because whatever reason we give for it, for the mitzvah, the ultimate reason is that the Ribono Shel Olam commanded us to do it. It may have a symbolic importance, like tzitzis is our uniform, or tefillin, or things are zecher liyitzas Mitzrayim. But ultimately, the mitzvah itself is a commandment of God. Nevertheless, the Gemara takes on, and all the Meforshim agree that this is the ultimate chok. The Shlomo HaMelech, who thought that he was able to interpret all of the other chukim in the Torah, but here he said, Amarti echkoma v'hi rechoka mimeni. I thought I'd be able to figure it out. Echkoma, I would be wise enough, but now at the end I see v'hi rechoka mimeni. It's far distant from my intellect to understand it. So the Meforshim raised the point that there's another chok in this week's parsha that is also very difficult to understand. And that is what happened here with Moshe Rabbeinu. In the parsha we read that the Jewish people complained they didn't have water. And Moshe lost his temper with them. He said, Shimu no hamorim, listen to me, you rebellious people, it's enough already. You want me to bring water from this rock? I'll do it. Now Moshe had experience with the rock and with bringing water from the rock. He did it before. And he did it by the method of smiting the rock, of hitting the rock with the mate. And here the Ribono Shel Olam told him to speak to the rock. And Moshe, in his state of mind, went ahead and he did what he did before. He hit the rock. He hit it a number of times. The water came out, the miracle occurred. And then the Ribono Shel Olam says, Yan lo amantem bi lahagdisheni. You didn't want to believe me. There would have been a greater Kiddush Hashem had you spoken to the rock. Like this, they think that you have a magic in your staff that brings water, or whatever it is. So therefore, you won't go into Eretz Yisrael. You will die here in the desert together with the rest of the generation. So at first blush, that's really a chok because it doesn't seem that the punishment fits the crime. What is the... why is Moshe held so accountable? And why is his punishment not to go into Eretz Yisrael? So the whole question of Moshe and Eretz Yisrael is shrouded in difficulty from the beginning. The Medrash quotes, we meet Moshe with the daughters of Midian, with the daughters of Yisro, right? They're by the well, and the shepherds won't give the water to the women, and Moshe saves them. So they said, Ish Mitzri Hitzilanu. An Egyptian man saved us. Moshe didn't counter their words. He didn't say, I'm not a Mitzri. So the Medrash says, Misha Hoda Be'artzo Yosef, that he said, Ki gunav gunavti meretz Ivrim. He said who he is, where he comes from, Nikbar Ba'artzo. And therefore he had the schus to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. They carried his bones the whole 40 years in the desert till they came to Eretz Yisrael and they buried him near Shechem. Mi shelo hoda ba'artzo. Speaking about Moshe, because Moshe let it pass that they said, Ish Mitzri Hitzilonu, that somehow he was a Mitzri. Lo nikbar ba'artzo. So Moshe was, unfortunately, was not privileged to be buried. So he's buried on Har Nevo. No one knows where his grave is. But he never entered Eretz Yisrael even after his death. So we see that Moshe has a problem here. The Rambam says that the entire punishment of Moshe here is a cumulative one. It wasn't this one act. It was all of the little things that happened along the way. The Rambam says the main reason is because of the temper, because of anger. We see wherever he, the Torah describes him as being angry, so then something untoward happened. Something unpleasant happened. So it's a cumulative thing. And the cumulative thing begins with the fact that he allowed himself to be identified as Ish Mitzri, and Yosef identified himself to be Ki gunav gunavti meretz Ivrim. So that raises, we have in Halacha, we have a whole question. And the Rambam has holy gerus about this. Rabbi Bradowitz is learning on Wednesday morning the Igrot to Rambam. So the first Igeret that he wrote is Igeret Ashmad. Igeret Ashmad deals with, unfortunately, a situation that Jews face throughout the exile. Is that the non-Jews, in order to survive, they had to pretend that they were not Jewish. And they had to pretend that they were not Jewish. In the Arab world, they had to pretend by saying the mantra about Muhammad. And in the Christian world, they had to pretend by being baptized. So then, is that a question of Yehorig Val Yavor? What should a person do? God forbid anybody that's being faced with that. We know that in the Shoah 70 years ago, that there were Jews that saved themselves by pretending, by passing as non-Jews, stating that they were non-Jews. So what's the parameter? What's the law? So it's very difficult. No one can really decide it quickly or succinctly or even definitively. The Rambam himself wavers. He gives 3 reasons why it's allowed, but then in the Sefer Halacha, he refutes all 3 reasons. But nevertheless, the problem arises, right? So the question is there a penalty to be paid later? Mishalahoda ba'artso. So for instance, I remember in the OU, there was someone that came and applied for a certain rabbinic position. And he seemed to be well qualified. And then people came and said that they were in the Shoah with him and that he was a hidden Christian. And now he comes back and he wants to be somebody in the Jewish world. So what do you say to that? How do you resolve that? So it's interesting, there's a tshuva in Rashi. It's brought in the Sefer HaPardes that there was a Jewish couple that during the time of the persecution pretended to be Christians. And actually, it seems from the tshuva that they were baptized as Christians. But then for some reason the persecution stopped, so they resumed their life as Jews. And they wanted to be accepted back into the community. And there were those that said, no, we shall not accept them back because, when push came to shove, they abandoned us. But Rashi paskined the other way. Rashi says, who can judge what people do under such circumstances? And we have to re-accept them in the community. The people naturally didn't listen to Rashi. So Rashi took the matter into his own hands. And that Shabbat, Rashi went up on the bima and he called this man up for an aliyah to show that in his opinion he should be re-accepted. However, we have many, many cases where people were not accepted. And especially people who did not deny their Jewishness and they somehow survived. So they especially resent somebody that would. So it's in Jewish history, this is a question that recurs over. We should never know from it. But it's a question that occurs over and over again. It's part of the fabric of Jewish life, so to speak. And it's based on this medrash of Moshe, this chok. Moshe can't go to Eretz Yisrael. Why can't he go to Eretz Yisrael? Marash. So he didn't have hair. He didn't speak to the rock. He hit the rock. So what? Mishalohoda artso. He didn't admit who he was. So we're not letting him go. So that remains a chok by us. That remains a difficult thing for us to deal with. It's one of the great problems that exist in the Torah. And because of that, therefore, you see that all the Meforshim search for other reasons, that this is not the only reason that Moshe couldn't go. But it's an accumulation of other factors. When all of it is added together, so then we could have some understanding of why Moshe was not allowed to come into Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Omer Ratzah Kodesh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Yisrael. Torah mitzvah shenamar